The mansion stood at the edge of Blackwood Forest, a silhouette against the fading light. It was a relic of a bygone era, its grandeur now faded and draped in ivy. Broken windows stared out like vacant eyes, and the wind whistled through the gaps in the walls, whispering tales of forgotten times. The mansion had a presence, a feeling that sent shivers down your spine. The air grew colder as you approached, and the shadows seemed to stretch out, eager to claim you.
I had heard stories about this place, tales of its former glory and its current haunted state, but I couldn't resist. There's something about the beauty of decay and the stories etched into every crack and crevice that draws me in.
As Sarah stepped out of her van, a sudden gust of wind slammed the car door shut, the sound echoing in the stillness of the evening. She shivered, pulling her jacket tighter around herself. The old oak door creaked open, revealing a grand entrance hall now thick with dust and cobwebs. Sunbeams slanted through the grimy windows, illuminating motes of dust dancing in the air. The air was heavy with the scent of dampness and decay, a musty perfume of forgotten things.
This is exactly the kind of atmosphere I seek to capture in my photographs.
She moved through the house slowly, her camera clicking softly. She captured the intricate details of the crumbling mouldings, the faded grandeur of the ballroom with its chandelier hanging askew, and the ghostly remnants of furniture draped in dust covers. Each room held a story, a whisper of the lives that had once filled these spaces. As Sarah explored, she noticed a recurring theme in her photographs: portraits. They lined the walls, faces gazing out from their gilded frames, their eyes seeming to follow her movements. The portraits were all different, showcasing men and women, young and old, but all bearing an uncanny resemblance to each other. They were dressed in the finery of a bygone era, their expressions a mixture of pride, melancholy, and something else that Sarah couldn't quite place. It was as if they were trying to convey a message, a warning whispered across the years.
This one stands out.
One portrait in particular caught Sarah's attention. It was of a young woman, her eyes a piercing blue that seemed to follow Sarah's every move. The woman in the portrait looked strangely familiar, but Sarah couldn't place her. She felt a chill run down her spine as she stared into the woman's eyes, feeling an unsettling connection to her.
I need to take a break from these portraits. Let's see what else this place holds.
She decided to take a break from the portraits, venturing further into the depths of the mansion. She discovered a library, its shelves still lined with leather-bound books. The library was dark, the only light filtering in through a small, dusty window. Dust motes danced in the weak rays of sunlight, illuminating rows upon rows of books. The air was thick with the smell of aged paper and leather, a scent both comforting and oppressive. In the center of the room stood a massive oak desk, its surface covered in papers and writing implements, and behind the desk, reflecting the dim light, was an ornately framed mirror.
This mirror, there's something about it.
Sarah approached the mirror cautiously, her hand instinctively reaching up to touch its cold, smooth surface. The reflection staring back at her was not her own. For a fleeting moment, Sarah saw the same young woman from the portrait, her blue eyes wide with fear. Then, just as quickly, the image rippled and vanished, replaced by Sarah's own startled reflection. Her heart pounded in her chest as she backed away from the mirror, her mind struggling to make sense of what she had just witnessed.
What was that?
Sarah's mind raced, trying to comprehend the eerie vision she had just seen.
I tried to rationalize the experience, blaming it on the shadows and the mansion's eerie atmosphere. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong.
Sarah decided to leave the library, her footsteps echoing in the silence as she made her way back through the mansion. As she passed the portrait of the young woman, she noticed something she hadn't before.
The woman's eyes. They seemed to follow me, her lips curled into a subtle, knowing smile.
Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she turned back towards the library, drawn by an unseen force. The mirror shimmered, its surface rippling like water. This time the reflection was clearer, more defined.
The young woman from the portrait. She stood in my place, her hand reaching out from the mirror's depths.
Panic surged through Sarah as she watched the ghostly figure emerge from the mirror, its form solidifying with each passing second.
Oh no, what is that?
The woman's eyes, once filled with a mournful sadness, now burned with a cold, malevolent light. She moved with an unnatural grace, her feet seeming to glide over the floor without making a sound. Sarah's mind raced, searching for an explanation, for an escape.
I need to get out of here now.
But the mansion, which had once felt like a place of forgotten beauty, now felt like a prison, its walls closing in on her. She turned to flee, her heart pounding in her chest, but the ghostly figure was faster. It lunged towards Sarah, its long white fingers reaching out to grasp her.
Ah, get away from me!
Sarah screamed, her voice echoing through the empty halls of the mansion. She dodged out of the way just in time, the ghostly fingers brushing past her cheek, leaving a trail of icy cold in their wake. Adrenaline surged through her veins as she stumbled back, her eyes wide with terror.
I can't let it catch me. I have to keep moving.
A terrifying chase ensued. Sarah, fueled by adrenaline and fear, sprinted through the darkened corridors of the mansion, the ghostly figure in relentless pursuit. The mansion, once a place of beauty and intrigue, had transformed into a labyrinth of shadows and fear, each turn leading to another dead end.
Where is the way out? I can't find it.
The ghostly figure was relentless, its form flitting through the halls, always one step behind. It moved with an eerie silence, its bare feet making no sound on the wooden floors, only the swishing of its long white gown betraying its presence.
It's right behind me. I can feel it.
The mansion seemed to conspire against Sarah, the floorboards creaking ominously beneath her feet, the shadows stretching and twisting, creating illusions that disoriented her.
I can't keep this up. I need to find a way out. Fast.
Sarah, with the ghostly figure closing in on her, saw a glimmer of hope. The front door. She pushed herself to her limit, her lungs burning, her legs screaming for respite. The mansion's shadows seemed to reach out, trying to impede her progress, but she pressed on, her eyes fixed on the sliver of light that represented her only chance of escape.
Almost there. Just a bit more.
She lunged for the doorknob, her fingers wrapping around the cold metal. But it was too late. The ghostly figure caught up to her, its cold, ethereal hand clamping down on her arm.
No, let me go.
Sarah screamed, the sound dying in her throat as she was pulled back into the darkness. The front door swung shut with a resounding thud, leaving behind an eerie silence. The mansion stood quiet once more, its secrets swallowed by the shadows. Sarah was never seen again. The mansion on Blackwood Lane remained, a looming testament to its dark history. Locals whispered tales of the young photographer who had dared to enter its depths, only to disappear without a trace. The mansion stood silent, its windows watching the world with a cold, vacant stare. But some swore that if you listened closely, you could hear the faint echo of a scream, a desperate plea lost to the shadows. And in the library, behind the oak desk, the mirror shimmered. The ghostly figure of the young woman stood within its depths, her reflection a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked within the mansion's walls. She was trapped, forever bound to the mirror and the mansion, her piercing blue eyes eternally searching for her next victim. The shadow in the mirror remained, a silent sentinel guarding the mansion's terrible secrets.